Hello and welcome to the big picture. One of the biggest concerns of farmers anywhere is the vagaries of weather. It is this which causes major losses to a farmer. Therefore, crop insurance is an issue which has engaged every government, and efforts to evolve the best system to protect the farmers from losses have gone on in this country. The NDA government yesterday has come out with a new crop insurance scheme which, according to the Prime Minister, will be a game changer. The heavily subsidized insurance scheme announced yesterday, covering all categories of farmers, including the tenant farmers, comes with as low a premium of 1.5% up to 5%, remaining of which will be subsidized by the government. With the spate of farmers' suicides in various parts of the country continuing unabated, this new scheme is aimed at controlling this problem too. We will today look at the new scheme and see how it will benefit farmers and whether it is indeed going to be a game changer for the farmers. To discuss this, I have with me Dr. S.M. Jarwal, former Principal Advisor, Union Ministry of Agriculture, Krishnbir Chowdhury, President Bharatiya Krishak Samaj, Amarjit Kaur, National Secretary AITUC, retired Colonel Subhash Deswal, a farmer and partner of the Sunshine Farms in Bulandshahr, and Vivian Fernandez, Senior Journalist and Consulting Editor, smartindianagriculture.in. To welcome to all of you. Dr. Jarwal, you think this is going to be a game changer?
I think the scheme scope has been enhanced because the premium charged in the new scheme will be up to 2% for crops and up to only 5% as against 25% earlier.
25%.
25% earlier. So
25%
from 25% to
25% was across the board.
No, this was for horticulture and other crops.
25%.
So
which has now come down to 5%.
To 5%.
Yes.
So this is a big change which is being effected. And then currently about 23% farmers.
What about the Kharif crops and the Rabi crops?
Kharif crops only up to 2%.
Kharif crop is 1.5%, Rabi crop is 2%, if I'm
Right.
wrong. It's the other way around. Okay. What was the earlier premium for that, for the Kharif and
No, earlier premium was 1.5%.
So that has remained unchanged. Okay. So what has changed in this?
Second feature
No,
is...
sir, what has changed in this as far as the premium is concerned? Only as far as the horticultural crops is concerned, from 25% it has come down to 5%?
5%.
That's it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the premium for the earlier, also in the earlier scheme, also the premium for Kharif crops and Rabi crops were 1.5% and 2%.
See, I am not very sure on that.
It was 15%.
15%.
Yes.
What was it?
15%.
It was 15% earlier?
Yes, it has come down to 1.5.
For
1.5 to
1.5 it has come and 2.
Okay.
For Kharif it's a 2, Rabi it's a 1.5.
1.5.
now.
Okay. Yes, Dr. Jarwal.
And the second one is that currently about 23% farmers are covered.
Covered.
And the target is to cover 50% farmers.
Right.
So that is another very important change.
Okay. Colonel Deswal, as a farmer and somebody who has seen what happens at the ground level, how do you look at this new scheme?
Sir, by all means, the new scheme is a very welcome scheme. But the problem as a farmer we see starts from the implementation level. This has not been specified how it will be implemented. I'll give you today's example. I was in the village and talking to the farmers, brother farmers, कि साहब I told them कि government ने बड़ा अच्छा scheme लाया है. The farmer replied, one of the farmer replied कि साहब माननीय एग्रीकल्चर मिनिस्टर साहब ने जो उनको पटवारी को एक मोबाइल दे रहे हैं वो फ़ोटो खींचने के लिए, और हमारी समस्या पटवारी से ही शुरू होती है. तो वे चेंज क्या हुआ? दैट एज ए फार्मर एट ग्रास रूट लेवल the problem is how the scheme will be implemented. There have been so many schemes in the past with the good intention. This scheme is also very good. I congratulate the central government for this scheme. Absolutely good scheme. But how it will be implemented? My first worry is politics may enter because it looks like a central government baby today. I don't think the state governments have been taken on board.
Okay.
If this scheme could have been named, say for example, Pradhan Mantri Mukhyamantri scheme. It becomes the baby,
baby of both the state
both
and
the state.
and the
Because
central
the implementation will come at the state level.
government. Right.
And there then politics starts. Because the name is Pradhan Mantri Yojana.
Okay, I think you have made interesting points. Let's get Krishan B. Chaudhary. How do you look at this? You know, he has raised very important points there.
Okay, it's a everywhere and in every policy because agriculture is state subject. But you see the intention of the central government.
No, one second. The agriculture is a state subject. This is a prime minister's crop
Yes,
insurance scheme.
yes.
So, is the subsidy which has to be given? It's hugely subsidized. It's a hugely subsidized.
It's a
scheme.
7,000 crore rupees
Right.
per
It will all come from the center. States need not bear any of the burden.
It will be.
States will have to bear some burden.
Yeah. Why not?
I think 50% is the state.
It's
So,
a-
And states are not on board, I suppose.
Do you agree with that? The states have not been taken on board as of now on this scheme?
For every scheme, every state, you know that how they implement. If we have seen the past, what are the examples? When the drought was there, the flood affected farming problem was there. In every implementation for every policy, states are responsible. But if you see the whole scenario, it was a huge demand from last more than a decades when different natural disasters were there in the country, and we were asking that there should be a crop insurance scheme should be there. It should be 100%. Previous scheme was the 50% losses up to 50% were there. It's a 100%.
This scheme is going to cover entire losses.
I tell you. One time, one crop for all country. The same tariff will be there. It will be
Same
tariff for all countries.
You mean premium?
Premium.
Yeah.
In previous schemes, there were in different area it was a different premium was there, but it covers 100%, and it covers hailstorm, flood. It covers
Even post-harvest problems.
Even post-harvest.
Yes.
And in previous policy, there was a lapse that if the one farmer is the sufferer in a field, there was a water loggage is there or some drainage leakage is there or due to rain or due to any. No, it covers all individual farmers.
Yes.
This is the very important,
Oh,
most important point.
that localized element has come into
Yes,
this.
yes, it covers all.
Right. Okay. Yeah, Colonel Deswal.
Sir, it does not cover all. You see,
No, that's what they say. It will cover
I'll
all.
give an example now
Yes.
only. Sir, if I store my potatoes or carrots in cold store, as far as what I have read to the best of my knowledge, it does not cover, it says post-harvest, and then it specifies two things.
Yes.
But it doesn't specify the storage. If it is in stores, it doesn't cover that.
It's not for the corporate. It's not for the corporate.
Sir,
This
it
policy,
is
this
It's
policy
for the
No,
ordinary
sir.
farmer.
No,
this
sir.
policy is for a
Farmer
small.
is storing the storage.
It's a small and marginal farmer,
it is a
not a
small-
1,000 acre of
Sir,
land holder.
1 second. Yes.
Sir,
Companies.
all the
Listen.
One second.
Let
Let him
Yes,
respond.
yes.
all the farmers in western Uttar Pradesh or say till central Uttar Pradesh, they are storing potatoes in the cold store. It doesn't cover them. When one side the government is saying cold chain, cold development, giving subsidy on that, telling farmers to store so that arbitrage they get,
Right.
and it doesn't cover the storage.
That's a problem. That's an important point which you have raised. Let me get Amarjit Kaur in on this. Amarjit Kaur, you think that, do you agree that this is an improvement on the previous scheme?
You see, when the scheme will come on board, then we will understand how much is the improvement. But I can say two things. It cannot become game changer because the basic issues of farmers are not being addressed. It's only insurance part of it. And I want to put it on record that in the crop insurance system, the talk about it and something bringing on board was done by Chaturanghan Mishra ji. Later on, Vajpayee ji brought it, which is present day called as NAIS.
Right.
And now in that scheme, some changes are being brought and it is being shown as if something very new is happening. I do agree these changes were needed for having ceiling to be removed and also for lowest premium, also for post-harvest coverage, that all is there. But one point which was being made is about implementation. I do agree, implementation is the serious issue. That is where the test lies. And they are saying that it will be mandatory use of technology for the purpose of real recovery to the farmer. And if you look at 83% farmers of India who are having 1 acre or 2 acre of land, who are marginal and poor farmers, for them putting this condition of mandatory technology ultimately will be excluding them from a process of getting it properly implemented. So that is the serious issue. Another thing which nobody is talking in the panel at the moment is, yesterday when I was hearing about introduction of this scheme, it was being told that the private players are going to make a big role into it. So is it that government will be shedding its own responsibility and slowly putting the whole thing on private insurance and then handing over farmers also to the private insurance companies? That is my worry. That's why I am saying it is good to cover tenant farmers also, which we have been demanding. But the real issue is of land reforms which is not being handled. To say only by this insurance scheme saying that it will become game changer and the government is not anti-farmer and the government is pro-farmer, then what about minimum support price? What about
No,
the
that is a separate,
less cost
no,
for their input?
Amarjit
What
Kaur,
about
that's a-
scientific
no,
input into
no, that is
raising
a-
their production?
No, that is a separate
All
issue.
this-
No,
yeah,
those
I
are separate
know.
issues. We'll discuss.
That
you
is
know,
a
that's
separate subject, I agree. Girish,
but-
I agree.
No, we
Yeah.
will not. We have,
I agree
let
with
us
you,
stick
but
to, let us stick to this insurance scheme as of today. We can discuss those things separately.
Yeah, insurance scheme as such.
Okay, I'll
Yeah,
come back to you.
I
I'll
agree.
come back to you.
I agree
Amarjit
with you,
Kaur.
but my objection is for private players to be brought
Okay,
into it.
okay.
Yeah.
Vivian, is there a problem with private players coming in? And you know, as far as as far as the scheme itself is concerned, it has broadened the scope. It has brought in a lot of new elements into it. There are really some which could be game changers if it's implemented properly.
Girish, first of all, when you talk, this scheme is just an improvement over the existing schemes. We are not expecting a radical change. We have had insurance since, countrywide since 1985.
Right.
And there have been many modifications. For
Right.
example, currently we have something called the Modified National Agricultural Insurance Scheme,
Right.
which is based on crop cutting experiments.
Right.
And then you've got something called the Weather-Based Crop Insurance Scheme, which is an index scheme where, regardless of whether there's actual loss, if there is a weather event, if, for example, rainfall falls below a certain average percentage, then automatically you get the payment, which is very good because it's based on technology and there's minimum human intervention. Because in crop cutting experiments, what happens is that, you cannot go to each and every area. There are a lot of, advertent and inadvertent errors that crop in.
No, but this
Now,
is
what is
this
the- what is
this
the-
no,
what is
that
good
that-
about this scheme?
Sorry, Vivian, but this is what is being touted as the most radical thing which is happening here, where it is not a generalized thing. Localized conditions also are going to be taken into account.
Even in the earlier schemes, they were being taken into account. For example, in coastal areas, if there was cyclonic rain, it was being taken into account. Here, for example, hailstorms and others have been added. Now, what is good about the scheme is, first of all, the reduction in premium, which is
Right.
a massive reduction. Secondly, there is no cap on the premium that the government will pay.
Right.
But there is, implementation is key. And I'll give you some of the examples I have seen myself as I've traveled in the countryside. First of all, in Nawashehar, for example, in Punjab, a farmer insured his crop, potato crop, and paid 15,000 rupees. The bank took the insurance for him, but when he went to claim the insurance, he was told that the insurance was for less than the duration of the crop. In Jalandhar, a farmer had insured for frost, but when he went to claim insurance, he was told that there was no frost in the area where the weather station was based. In Jabalpur in Madhya Pradesh, Patwari refused to certify that the loss was in excess of 50%. He said it's only 30%. So implementation is an issue, but technology has to be brought in. I disagree with Ms. Kaur that technology is anti-poor. In fact, technology is very good.
She didn't say it. She didn't say
No,
that
what
it's
we need is
anti-poor.
actually a denser coverage
I didn't say that.
of weather stations.
I'm
No.
not saying. I'm
No,
saying
sorry,
the poor farmers
I-
how to take
sorry,
them.
I stand
Right.
corrected. I stand
I'm
corrected on
only
that.
saying it should not be mandatory.
Right,
I
right.
stand corrected on that.
Please.
So, what we require is
I'm
better
not
technology.
against technology.
Better technology. You have smartphones, you have remote sensing, you have now drones that are being used, and use of mathematical models, crop simulation models, and all that. So we require a combination of these things to make this more successful. But
Okay.
crop insurance is important, but it's not the panacea because this only insures against weather risks. But there are price risks also. For example, last year there was a slump in potato prices. From 8 rupees it fell to 2 rupees per kg and farmers suffered. So we require something different for that. And thirdly, the best thing is to extend irrigation.
Right.
You know, that's
But
very
that is-
important.
That is a permanent solution, but you know it's not easy. Yes, Dr. Jarwal.
I entirely agree that implementation is going to be a very big issue in this, because currently under the scheme, the loss is to be compensated based on the yield levels for last 3 years at sub-block level.
So
Now- now
there'll
this
be.
is-
So are you trying to say that there will be a lot of personal element involved in this, a
No, that
subjective
that
element
we'll have
involved
to
in
see. That we'll have to see. But the better part of the story is that now the farm level assessment has to be done, which was not there.
Right.
See, the problem earlier was that in a
when you
sub-block
talk
level,
of farm-
suppose the yield has come
Sir,
down only by
farm-
say 3%.
That's
so
right.
only
When you-
3% across the board.
No, when you're talking of farm level assessment, which means that the Patwari is going to assess at the farm level.
In any case, Patwari was there.
So now also it is
See,
the
the
same.
same person would be there.
So what is
ultimately.
what is this new this technology being brought in as far as assessments are concerned?
No, suppose, I have lost my crop. I would certainly complain and the Patwari or the revenue official will come. And maybe he would make use of modern technology, say smartphone. He would assess, give the report.
Smartphone can only take photographs. You know what else can it do? Colonel
No,
Deswal?
but he has
The
to.
point is,
Sir, one
he
second.
has to-
Sorry. Yes.
No,
very
No,
quickly.
he has
No,
to assess actually.
one
he
second,
knows.
one second.
He's
The
ground level person.
smartphones are very important. I'll give an example.
Yeah.
In Kenya, you got something called Kilimo Salama. Okay, it's a scheme where, for example, with every package of seed, you get a number. You call a number, and then a satellite pixel is assigned to that number. So on the basis of the satellites can determine whether there has been a loss in yield or something. Loss in yield. Drones can be used. So let's not discount the use of technology.
I'm not trying to understand how the technology will. I'm not discounting it.
But earlier on, for example, we had the crop cutting experiments were happening at the district level. Then now they have been brought down to the block level.
Right.
But even that may not be enough because there are
There can be variations.
Are so much.
Right.
See, farmers will never be satisfied.
Absolutely.
But you can have incremental improvements, and let's not discount that.
No,
of course there will
absolutely.
be problems.
Colonel
sir,
Deswal.
the tragedy is that all governments, they start with the Patwari. He's not a scientist. Everything is loaded onto him.
Right.
He's not a scientist. How he will assess from photos, I don't know. And there has to be a system. The problem starts, there is a loss. Who will assess it? That is the real problem. That if you want a game changer with good intention, the government is having a good intention, I don't doubt the intention. But I will accept game changer when the system is changed. It's the same system.
So your problem is that the same system is being used, and whatever problems was there with the old system will continue with the new system.
Because there is no
Would you
training,
agree
there
with
is
that?
nothing, sir.
Absolutely.
There is no training of the Patwaris. There is no change in their psychology. There is no change in anything. He is working like that only since Mughal times.
No. See, I think,
Sir,
I think
one
the
more
discretionary element is huge in
That's-
case
that-
of
that's the-
Patwari.
yes.
So to
So this
minimize
new
that,
scheme has not eliminated much
but
of the discretionary.
The scheme would not give all those details. I think what needs to be done to minimize his discretion or her discretion in assessing the crop loss, in fact, we have to, as government, we have to really drop detailed guidelines so that that person in
the
charge.
discretion is limited to as
So immediately the government should really work on the guidelines to be
Right,
given to
right.
the revenue officials.
Yes, you have one point.
Sir, the government says that the total premium will be 1800 crores.
No, it's much more than that.
18,000.
8,800 crores.
8,000.
Of central
8,000.
Of central government only. So
Yes.
16
8 into
plus 18 plus 2%.
Yes.
For one time.
It's actually total comes to 17,600 crores.
18,000,
Yes.
I was saying.
And Girish, just to give an idea, let me put this in perspective.
Yeah.
For the under the weather-based crop insurance scheme for 12 seasons, the total premium collected by the was 7,500 crore. So here in one scheme, in one go they're paying much more than that. So I think they're expanding it very much, and it's important to expand it because as you increase the risk pool, the cost comes down.
And that's
Insurance
right.
works on risk
Yeah,
pooling.
that insurance works on that.
Sir, the point is this figure 18,000 crores covers 50% of the farmers.
It is expected to cover 50%.
Expected.
It is only
That's why that
23%.
budget is like
Sir,
that.
my question related to that to you was that why is it that farmers have not been taking crop insurance so far? What has been their problem?
Sir,
Because only 23% has been covered. That's what the statistics say.
today also, there are two factors which I feel, sir. Firstly, the faith in the system. You deposit a money in the bank, since you will get it. The people still think कि the marginal poor farmers कि
इससे कुछ फायदा नहीं.
उससे मिलेगा नहीं मिलेगा. They don't have faith in the system.
Okay.
So something has to be developed, a system where people develop
Girish ji.
faith. कि
Right.
we pay the premium, we will get the
Okay.
insurance.
Yes, Amarjit ji. Yes.
Girish ji, same thing I wanted to say and I want to stress on it. It is not that they don't have faith in the system only because they think so. It's not whimsical. It is from the experiences of their colleagues,
Right.
of their seniors,
Right.
of their predecessors. Because of that, they think whatever we will do, even that money will be lost. So the confidence will come only when the process is made proper, system is very transparent, and system is functional. And then this danger of private players entering into it will further
will- I-
bring
I want to-
a sort
yes.
of no confidence into
No.
the system. And this state to be on board.
Absolutely.
If the state governments who are supposed to implement, they are not brought on board into this whole process and system, again the confidence will not come.
Absolutely.
So state and center had to work together
Okay.
if this scheme is to be brought, but that is not being done.
Okay.
Whereas
No, that will
my
have to be
original
done.
points continue to be where somebody
have-
added irrigation also.
That will have
Yeah.
to be there. That will have to be the Krishan Bir Chaudhary.
So
ji.
system
That will have to be
and
there.
the process has to be
States
important,
have to be-
transparency has to
states
be important.
States have to be brought on board. There is no way in which this scheme can succeed to any extent unless states are brought on board.
Yes.
One. Second thing is the concern raised by Amarjit Kaur about private insurance companies coming in and coming in as players. Is that a serious concern? You think that's a serious concern?
Now, one thing, the private players have entered in open insurance policies, transportations, other corporate insurance, they have joined hands. Not today, but from last many years they are working in the country when we were asking at the time. One thing I tell you, Nikamji, that farmers is not in a position to pay the 15%
The premium.
That
is why
was
they-
too
that's-
high. That was 10 times higher than today. The
Okay.
government have finalized.
So
the farmer was unable to pay the huge amounts in the name of
I mean,
insurance.
that's a fair. I think that's a fair assessment. Yes.
And
Vijay.
second thing,
quickly, sir.
And second thing, that only up to the 50% of the losses will be paid by the insurance
Okay.
company.
Right.
Farmer were not agreed on that
Okay.
issue also.
Girish, one
Okay.
is there is
Yes.
low awareness about insurance. Some
Right.
of the farmers don't even know. Most of the farmers don't even know
Right.
that crops are covered.
Right.
I met a farmer in Punjab who said, your general insurance and auto insurance and health insurance is so heavily advertised. Why don't you advertise crop insurance?
Right.
Farmers do not know that.
Right.
Second, the amount they get. For example, I went to Mathura. A farmer paid a premium of 400 rupees and he got a compensation of 1700 rupees. Now, what is 1700 rupees? It's peanuts. So, and farmers also think that if they pay a premium, they must get the payout. So, they think it's like a fixed deposit. So, there is a lot of, ignorance about what insurance is about. It's not, there's no awareness also. So, all these things are, need to be addressed. And regarding the private sector, I think
Right,
private
private
sector can bring down the cost. For example, if you have competition, you can bring down the cost. And let's not forget that the first weather-based crop insurance contract was written by ICICI Lombard in 2003. It was not done by a public sector company. So we should not get into ideological issues. We must talk about what is good for the farmer. And if you can have competition and bring down the cost, what's wrong in that?
Amarjit J, how do you respond to that? Very quickly, but. Yes.
Ji, no, it's not ideological issue. The whole issue is that government said yesterday what I heard the debate and the person speaking from the government side, they were saying that the government will subsidize those insurance companies who will be entering into this business. If there will be a problem of premium collection, government will be subsidizing. Government's approach should be directly to help the farmers how best they can do. Instead of started, even before the scheme is on board, they have started it's saying that we will be helping the private insurance
Okay.
companies
That is-
so
I
that
mean,
in
there
the
is an
competition
element-
process they will
there-
be undone.
Okay.
So the intention doesn't seem to be good.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Jarwal, very quickly.
No, there is no doubt
Yeah.
that this activity for the private sector is going to be a profitable
It's a
activity.
huge. It's going to be a huge business.
See, it's a profitable, going to be a profitable activity.
Right.
But suppose we leave aside that factor
Yes.
and then think in terms of covering the farmers.
Right.
Then certainly the competition would be there and private sector would cover those farmers.
Okay.
And it's let me share another fact. Take the year 2012-13. The total premium collected was 2,235, and the actual payment was around 1,600.
Right.
So that shows how much they can earn.
Okay.
Because how it's implemented in African countries.
Last word, very quickly. Whether it's private companies or does it matter to the farmer whether it's going to
Sir,
be a private?
today the farmer is in such a distress. He is not worried ki private or public. It is up to the government to take a correct decision for the benefit of the people.
I
But
think-
farmers should get something.
Okay, I think on that note we need to end. It is a fascinating discussion and it is something which we'll have to look forward to how it's going to be implemented. As all my panelists say that it's a scheme, it's a good scheme. All the the new elements which have been brought in is something which has to be welcomed. But how it's going to be implemented on the ground is something which we'll have to wait and watch. Thanks to all my guests. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue in the big picture same time tomorrow.